you guys have the privilege to the vice president.
Correct.
You guys have privilege to even blade Nzimande himself.
That's correct.
Why can't like Kanakana or maybe SAYEC as an organization submit a document to say this is what we are facing as students?
And I'm still saying it, and I'll say it here on your platform, that President Ramaphosa must do us a favor and he must fire Minister Blade Nzimande.
You guys attended BRICS. The first question about BRICS was why SAYEC was invited there.
Look, the truth of the matter is that you don't get to determine who invites you and who doesn't invite you.
Yeah.
You know, if someone sees you doing good, you've got an impact, and they say, no, let's invite these young people.
Hello guys, welcome to Marcel Simon Show. It's an honor today. We have a very important guest, a very smart young man, and it's just an honor to be having him again. We had him before and his partner. So he's a former vet student. They say once a vetty, always a vetty. So he's a vet student. He's doing very well in his own right. We are joined today by a very young man that I admire. It's one of the people that whenever you're looking at what they are doing in their life, you are inspired to say, you know what, Black Kid is possible, and West is from Limpopo and we're from Limpopo. Yeah. So I'm joined by the leader in the young community space, an activist. I'm joined by Kanakana Mudzanani.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, leadership. Thank you so much. I think it's always a privilege to be here. I'm the one who is honored more than anything. The Marcelo Simon Show is a platform that is growing at a very good rate, and you know, being invited consistently here, it's quite indeed a vote of confidence to young people by your team and the host, because when we watch it, you always have key strategic people, you know, parking. Now you're discussing VC Vilakazi. So you see, if you then also create some airtime for emerging players like us.
People don't know that is coming. The VC, they don't know. But yeah, it might be coming. No, it's an honor. To be honest with you, Somlomo, and others, you guys are doing very well. And like as I said in the intro, looking at you guys, it's not like you are from a privileged background.
Yeah.
You guys had to fight very hard.
Very, very hard.
Very hard. And education was the first tool that you guys used.
No, indeed,
so,
indeed.
I'm very inspired. Looking at where you are, that's the same background that some of us were coming from. So looking at you guys, say like it's possible.
It is. It really is possible. I think one thing I should also state is that I was a student here. You are correct, but I also had the privilege of serving as the Treasurer General of the SRC. Yeah. So I was responsible for the pairs. And during that time also we had to fight for students to those who were financially excluded, for them to come back
in 2021.
In 2021. So the vets are sinamali. That concept was actually coined in my room at Junction. Yes. It was me, another SRC leader called Mongezi Maluleke, and another chap called Dr. Karabo. It was the three of us in that bedroom, and we said no. What are we going to call this movement of ours that we want to move with? We then called it the hashtag #VetsAsinamali. But there was a very heated debate in the SRC of whether do we go and protest or not, because the president at that time, and these are receipts you'll never hear anyway. Yes. The president at that time, who is a close friend of mine, Mpendulo Mfeka, was of the idea that let's try a different route. Let's fundraise from external stakeholders. And the campaign was called 21 million in 2021. Yeah. That campaign raised about 8 million rand, but he then came back to us and he felt that no, that was not sufficient. So we need a better push, which would then be obviously going to the streets. And then effectively we started mobilizing students behind the idea to say, no, we've raised 8 million. We've tried to assist those that we could assist, but the truth of the matter is that much more still needs to be done. I think we had about 8,000 plus students that had not registered at the time. So we then said, no, and that's how it came about. Yeah.
I thought Vets Namal was from the EFF.
No, not at all, not at all. They can never try and claim that victory. I'm telling you now. That concept was coined by the three people that I've just mentioned, and the vets EFF, where we can at least acknowledge their effort and credit, was that as we were fundraising, they had actually started a protest of theirs, but it was not really garnering support or popular support from students, because outside of the SRC, people really, or the students really, don't have hope. So if the SRC is not moving, it becomes extremely difficult for any other student structure to mobilize students. I think Feast Must Fall is the only exception, but students normally believe that a program of action, particularly one which speaks to protest action, can only come from the SRC. So the EFFSC had done something for about a week, which was not working. I remember they even had some fight with the protection services. It ended up being bad. And then as we started the vets Asina Mali, and we said we are going to shut down Hall 29, where registration was taking place. They were not there on that day. They said we are doing our own thing, they are doing their own thing. Day two, when we said we are moving to education campus, that's when they came and said, no, we are fighting for one thing. So let's be united and move. So I think the key takeaway from that was that the SRC could not obviously have achieved what it achieved in 2021 without the support of these structures. SASCO, Youth League, the YCL, as well as the EFF Student Command, and House Coms and student councils as well. We wouldn't have achieved those things. And I understood that when I was planning the protest with the deputy president, Stembiso Dabula. You must actually get her on the platform.
I don't want to say she's refusing, but she's saying, I'm no longer a student deputy president. What is it that we will talk about? I was like, you have your organization. She leads.
Yeah.
You're always busy. At times, you find that you're off the country, representing the country in so many platforms and doing so many projects.
Yeah, she's a wonderful leader, a phenomenal leader. I think you must try and get her on the platform. But
I still have her number. She's not keen.
I think you must do a bit of coverage on the Vets Asina Mali. It's an untapped space where you can just get people that started up with that concept to speak about it, and those who were leading it to speak about it. Because we had agreed the day before that we are going to go for protest action, but there were some in the SRC that were not too confident with the idea. So the SG was in support of protest. Must also try and get her as well. The deputy president, Stembiso Dabula, was in support of the protest. And then there was an SRC leader as well, who at the time was still with the EFF, Shenge, Solami Butele. So we agreed with them that from an SRC point of view, this is the program of action. We are going to the streets. It was that meeting, I think it ended at about 3 a.m. But at 6 o'clock, that was the time we had agreed that we would meet. They came knocking on my window. I was still sleeping. They said, the leadership, you said at this time we must be moving to men's rest to go and mobilize students and also go to Highveld because it was all week. So student leaders were addressing first years. Then we thought, no, we are going to go speak to first years there to say to them, your seniors who are unable to come back to university are failing to come back because of this system. So you must play a role in fighting against this system. So those two leaders, Solami Buthelezi as well as Stembiso Dabulu, were very central to the Vets Asina Mali as well in terms of mass mobilization, conceptualizing the concept. It would be good if you can sit down with them and speak to them. But they were very decisive, an elite group of women that were fearless. I think our SRC had that. We had the SG, who was a woman. She was very fearless. We had the DP, very fearless. The likes of Solami, Mpochauke. We also had a lady called Spesi Hlemzabele. She was leading the International Students Association. Massive group of leaders that we were leading with. I think a clique of women that are above the rest, in my opinion.
I was talking to the current Vets president, Bukisa Wanyese. She told me like some of the strategy that they have in trying to solve the student issues, like accommodation, exclusion, and everything. she said that there's a campaign that they have. I don't know exactly her words, but the idea is to raise, I think it's like 30 million, and then invest it somewhere. I don't know. She said, I don't want to say Job Stock Exchange, but she said she wants to invest the SRC. They're going to raise that money and invest it somewhere so that it can make profit every year. Like they must be able to take out from that money to pay for student exclusion, to try and avoid the issue of us every year at the beginning of the year having to protest. So in your experience, you being the treasurer in 2021, you being in the forefront of raising the funds for us to come and register for accommodation and everything, in the experience and now in everything that you are seeing and you have seen, what is it that you think is the best solution for this problem of student accommodation and exclusion?
Well, I think it's a good model that Bukisa is trying to go about. I think the motive is in the right path. But the truth of the matter is that, and there's a guy in the EFF called Sivuile Matu as well, very, very sharp chap. He started problematizing this model of fundraising when we thought it could work. But now, in hindsight, I think I understand where he's coming from. You know, the reality of the matter is that whichever student body comes in and tries to fundraise won't address the real problem, because the real problem is the fact that there is no free higher education. The real problem is the fact that year in, year out, someone is getting financially excluded. So I think fundraising actually creates an idea that it is okay for higher education to be a commodity which people must pay. And as the SRC, we will continuously fundraise. That creates a risk of, in the event that you fail to fundraise as an SRC, then that means someone must be financially excluded. It creates that impression. So I think as much as Wukisa is in the right position, she must have an understanding of the fact that, at least I was there in 2021, so I can advise her that to address the problem, we have to continue with the fight for free, decommodified quality higher education. That should be the fight. We can fundraise for other issues to say, okay, no, we've got an issue of hunger on campus, we've got an issue that speaks to sanitary towels. We can fundraise for those things, genuinely so. But I think this one of higher education is the government's responsibility, and what we must do as activists is to wage that war with the Department of Higher Education and Training, with Treasury, to say higher education is not a commodity, it's a social investment that the government must invest in. Because, Simon, this thing is very simple. When you invest in higher education, you find Kanakana, who comes from Amuraga village in Limpopo, destitute from a poverty circle, who says, no, I've matriculated, I've got a bachelor's pass with 5 distinctions. I've applied at VET and I want to go there, but I don't have money, you know. And then as the government, you've already paid for his tuition fees, you've paid for his meals, or you give him an allowance, you've also paid for his accommodation in Johannesburg. When he comes here, he studies and he gets that degree on record time. What you have saved, right, in as the government, is that this person is no longer reliant on your grant.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying it's a social investment. This person does not rely on your free health care because they afford medical aid. This person does not need an RDP house because they can build a house for themselves. This person contributes what is called either corporate tax or pay as you earn or income tax because they are working. So the government must start understanding that in South Africa, having a higher education qualification is actually a good thing for the government, and they must invest in higher education as a whole. So with my colleagues such as Bukis, we have to wage the fight where it's necessary, and that is with government, to say that we want you to implement free higher education.
You know, we have started, I think back then I was in primary when Fees Must Fall started, 2014, 2015. The aim was for free education. And then later in 2017, the president announced that there's free education. And
he didn't announce that.
What did he say?
He said NSFAS is no longer a loan.
Yes, it's
NSFAS is now going to be a grant. Essentially, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
But there were other things that he announced, obviously, that made it seem as if there was free higher education. But in my own opinion, yes, it was a move towards the right direction, but I think much more still needs to be done, Simon.
Okay, where I was going is when he announced that it's going to be a grant, it's no longer like a loan, student loan. That kind of like gave us a little bit of excitement, and every year we continue fighting. Looking at where it started, now it's 10 years. Do you think protest is working on our advantage?
Look, the truth of the matter is that in a democratic government, no one should be protesting because our government must have the best interest of people at heart. But I'm not going to sit here and say when people are being oppressed, they must sit down and not speak out about it. When we said vets asina mali, a couple of things actually happened towards our favor. The campaign of raising 21 million had not raised any money at all. But when we started saying vets asina mali and we are taking it to the streets because fundraising has not worked for us, investor came, said here's 6 million. Someone else came and said here's 10,000 rand. And then we ended up raising about 8 million rand. Then the university said, no, for every rand you've raised, we are willing to match you. And then we now had 16 million, just because we are on the streets. But we didn't stop there. We got calls from people who are in government who then came through and said, no, guys, look, the NWC of the ANC is sitting. It was on a Tuesday. And they said it's sitting today. What do you guys want us to achieve? Or how best can we address your problem? We said, no, NSFAS had defunded students because of COVID. They said some people come from high-earning households. It was just some random thing that they did, which caused a lot of chaos at the time. We said, no, you guys had taken away the funding from NSFAS. So fix that issue. Wednesday morning after that NWC meeting of the ANC, Minister Nzimande was making an announcement that there is an additional 7 billion rand that has been redirected to NSFAS. The university vice chancellor, Mr. Prof. Zeblon Vilagazi, then said no, he is going to allocate an additional 10 million rand through what at that time he called it the VC's fund or something of that nature. Those wins came as a result of us picketing and going to the streets and saying enough is enough. We are not going to allow a young lady who is in a final year of medicine from Free State to be financially excluded. And we assisted a lot of people who are academically deserving, by the way, to come back to the system. So protest. Yeah. Protest does not have to be anarchy, does not have to be burning libraries, does not have to be destroying infrastructure or threatening other students on campus. No. Protest must be peaceful. Protest must be a platform to exchange ideas with other students to say, no, but Mariki, you are privileged. You come from a privileged background. However, your own classmate who is studying pharmacy with you, who sometimes assists you when you are struggling, is unable to pay because they are probably the first university student in their entire family. So the university is saying this person must go home because they are unable to pay 90,000 rand. So because they can't find that 90,000 rand, please come and join us to try and assist them to come back to the university. That's what a protest is supposed to be like. And trust me, we got a lot of support from a lot of students who are from med school. Largely, most of them are funded, most of them are self-funded, but they didn't owe. But they said, no, we are going to make sure that we say to the university, yes, we are privileged, but you can't allow a situation where we are in class, but those who are with us are no longer here because they couldn't pay you fees. And it was a nice movement.
But my question to you is like, as a vetsy who once faced these issues, now you have you I don't want to say a voice, but you are playing a role in the ANC, in the government. You see, what is it like hard for you guys to speak to the minister, to say, look, Minister, we understand what they're fighting for. We are coming from there. We face that. Why can't we have free education?
You're making a very big mistake of taking me away from your struggles, because one.
No, I'm not taking you away. I'm saying as a former activist.
No, I'm saying you are making it look like I don't speak about those issues. Essentially, that's what I'm saying, and I'm saying to you, one, and I must say this: I'm not in government in any way, right? Yes. I'm not in government. I'm a supporter of the ANC, correct? But one thing that you must never overlook, Simon, is the fact that just 2 weeks ago, I was on Newsroom Africa in an interview to speak about NSFAS. And I'm still saying it, and I'll say it here on your platform, that President Ramaphosa must do us a favor and he must fire Minister Blade Nzimande, because he has failed to resolve issues in the higher education sector. He has failed to make NSFAS work, which is a credible entity that is supposed to restore hope to a black child. So my voice that was there in 2021 when I was a student leader is still the very same voice that I've got now.
But there's a difference between speaking on a public platform and speaking to the ministerial administration or whatever advisors to say, because, man, we know you guys attended BRICS, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yes. You guys have the privilege to the vice president.
Correct.
You guys have privilege to even Blade Nzimande himself.
That's correct.
Gwabe Mantashe. So obviously, when you meet the minister, obviously you are meeting. At times, you're meeting with his advisors. What is it? So okay, why can't like Kanakana or maybe SAYEC as an organization submit a document to say this is what we are facing as students? We witness what they went through. You see, this is the struggle that we understand. Like, it's a primary information. This is a primary experience. Why can't you try to sort this out and make it a free education?
So we've written to Minister Nzimande alone not less than 12 times, advising him, saying to him, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. We've met with Deputy Minister Manamela, I think, on 2 occasions, where we were raising the same issues with him, that this is what needs to happen in order to address issues in the higher education sector. And I'm saying to you, Marcel, when you advise someone, they can either take your advice or they cannot take it.
Yes.
So we have done our part. We have spoken to the minister. We have written to the minister. We've said on numerous occasions, this is what we think should be done. And none of those things have come to fruition, which is why we are saying it cannot be that the higher education sector is in a crisis. We offer counsel and we offer advice. Student movements do the same. SAWS, which is a body representing SRCs, does the same. SRCs in their own respective rights also do the same. And then there is no movement and we keep quiet, which is why we have now resorted to saying, clearly there is nothing this person is going to assist us with. Yeah, it's not an issue of will, but it's an issue of capacity. And we need a much more sharper bladed higher education, which is why we've called for his removal. So those avenues that you are speaking about, of whether have we done so or have we not done so, I can tell you now, we have. But the truth of the matter is that there's never been action. And to every senior politician, not just of the ANC, we speak with Zungula, we interact from time to time with the EFF, we interact from time to time with Helen Zille. We always speak, the first thing that we speak about when we see these senior leaders is higher education. In fact, Minister Mantashe, every time in any platform he assumes when we are in the room, he always says to us, no, there is a clique of young people that I met when they were students. Even today, when they are no longer students, they always speak about higher education. He'll say that to you. Because we understand that fundamentally and at the center of the development of any young person is a post-school qualification. So, trust me, we speak about these issues. Where there is no implementation, we are just equally as angry as you. Because I'm of a fundamental belief that any young person who is desperate runs to anyone that could possibly assist them. I still get, in January, I still get calls from so many young people who are at Wits to say, no, look, you assisted me when you were in the SRC. I know you are no longer there, but I'm saying I'm faced with this issue. Can you try and assist? And those things are very frustrating, that as a student leader that was leading 3-4 years ago, I'm still receiving calls wanting people wanting me to attend to the same issues that I was attending to back then. So it's extremely frustrating.
As you're saying that You are calling for the removal of the minister, right?
Correct. And I say it out loud without any form of thinking that maybe something will happen to me or I'll be affected in any way.
Yes.
I'm calling for his removal, and I will continue to do so from time to time.
And
I encourage other organizations, even those within the ANC and in the alliance, to call for his removal. The SACP must do us a favor. If it claims it is communist, Blade is their deployee, and they understand how important the issue of higher education is. They must put aside political relationships and say to him, no, maybe we can redirect you elsewhere. But in this specific sector, we don't think you are doing well.
Let's be precise here. It's you as an individual or SAYEC as a whole?
No. I'm not speaking in my own personal capacity. I said to you, we wrote to his office not less than 12 times. So anyone in the council who is going to assume any platform and speak on higher education, the first thing they will say is that Minister Nzimande must go. And if that doesn't happen, you can, I don't know, you can hold me accountable in any way. But I can tell you now.
Are you guys making a recommendation to say he has failed to do this and that? The only person that, or maybe one of the people that we believe that can make a difference, can listen to students, is this particular person, or just calling for his removal without making a recommendation of his
well, I mean, an appointment is a prerogative of the president. But if you if you are to look at my past interview, the one I just referred to now, I made a recommendation with regards to what needs to happen at NSFAS. And even when it comes to the recommendations of who must be the minister, we don't want to specifically say, here is a name, we are giving it to you, appoint this person. No, but we will continuously say there is a pool of young people in the EFF, in the ANC, in the DA that understand the struggles of students in higher education. So we believe fundamentally that the person that must occupy that role, because it speaks to youth development, must be a young person, must be a person who understands the plight of young people, must be a person who understands that this thing called university, institutional autonomies of universities does not work in the favor of developing young people in this country, is appointed. And I can tell you now, free of charge, Marcel, there is a pool of young people, highly qualified with PhDs, who understand the system, who understand what needs to happen, that are readily available to take those posts. And I would encourage, just the same way the ANC Youth League is encouraging, the president to consider someone young for that position. There is a good pool of young leaders in the ANC that are capable. I can name them if you want me to.
You can. But the problem I have realized with the government is that most of the time, whenever they are giving this ministerial position, they're giving to older people. Young people who we believe they can make a difference are not getting it. And I'm wondering why.
No, correct. I mean, you're on point there. I think, I believe that change is not an event. You don't achieve change in one day. It's a process. And we must never make a fundamental mistake of giving up. We must continue to agitate. We must continue to make the call. We must continue to be as loud as we can be. So that at some point, our voice emerges. I mean, a good story to tell is the EFF story. I mean, they were leading the ANC Youth League at some point. They've been calling for the most progressive things since their days in the ANC Youth League. I mean, the coining of the ANC at the time, saying economic freedom in our lifetime. Yeah. That has been their motto since the day they assumed the responsibility of leading the Youth League till date. That it's been about, the EFF is 10 years old today. Julius was president of the ANC Youth League in 2008. So they have been involved and agitating for something better since 2008. Till date, it has not been achieved. But they believe in what they stand for. They believe that what they stand for is a mission, and it can't just be achieved overnight. It has to be done over time, which is why from time to time, you will understand that even if things are not working out, they don't deviate from what they seek to achieve. Even the Youth League, it has had multiple presidents, but even the current president, if you listen to him speak, you get to see that the language is consistent, that we want young people in parliament, we want young people to be ministers, and that message has not changed, because any young person who is engaged in a revolution must understand that it's a time game. You don't wake up and decide you are giving up today. So let's continue agitating. Let's continue fighting. We are going to achieve it. And I can tell you now, to all young people in South Africa, there is no political party that is going to hand us ministerial positions or political power. Jordan Hill is the mayor of City of Cape Town under the DA. When we hosted him, he was still young. He was 34 at that time. Now he's graduated. But he said a very powerful thing to us. He said, to you guys as SAYEC, I want you to know that political power is not given to anyone. It's taken. Young people must know that.
Go for it.
We must take. We must take. It can't be given to us. We can't be negotiating with old people that we want strategic positions. Can you please give us 2, keep 7? No. They must know that we have arrived. We want to occupy treasury. We want to occupy higher education. We want to occupy health. We want to occupy higher education and education. Because there is this culture also, which must be called out, that every time when a young person is seen, they think, no, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. We don't want those things. We don't want to be reduced to sports, arts and culture as young people. We want strategic sectors of the economy. We want to be appointed in agriculture. We want to be appointed in higher education. And there is also one ministerial position, by the way, which I consistently want to see a young person occupying it. The DTIC. Minister Ibrahim Patel has been there for some time. Rob Davis was there. I have a fundamental problem with how things are being done in that ministry, because it's being allocated to either white people or Indians. That is a problem on its own, because are you saying black people are incapable of running the DTIC, which speaks to industrial development in this country? Are you saying young people can't take over those things? So I would make a plea or a call to the president to say, challenge us. Give us someone who's below the age of 35 there at the DTIC. And also give them a deputy minister who is fairly young as well. Because that's where the IDC is. That's where the National Empowerment Fund is. That's where the Competition Commission is. So you get to see that if we just occupy that alone, we can transform this economy. Once you start transforming the economy, you have young people that are millionaires and young people that are billionaires. You get to understand that as a country which shift in a totally new terrain. Because old people that are there, and I've got a fundamental problem with them, all of them, they want to be BEE partners to white people because they think white people have the financial and technical capacity, and they are just fine with just being in the board. When decisions are taken that are strategic, they don't care as long as they get their dividends. We must call those things out. So we want, once we start saying to you, Marcel, no, in the arts, you've got your own production company that is quite big, that is employing people. You get to understand that how the sector operates is going to totally shift.
Yeah.
Instead of just being consumerists here in South Africa in the art space, we'll start to have more creations. I mean,
that's what education teaches us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, from the top of my head, I always say this to my friends. There's the SABC. It's not very far from AFDA, and you've got a lot of students there that are focused in production, film, and television. I don't understand why the SABC has not taken a very radical decision to say, let's create a platform that is Netflix-like. And we just simply go and fetch students from AFDA. We say, you know how to use the equipment, you know how to produce, you know how to write, you know how to act. Create movies. We are allocating R1 billion to this platform. Develop it. Trust me. South African content sells. We're going to watch South African movies. We're going to start selling them abroad as well. So we need those radical decisions taken by the government, you know.
Yeah.
And lastly, also speaking about the arts now, when you have radical decisions or radical leadership at SABC, look at the creation of 404.
Yes.
SABC News.
Yes.
That's a platform that we are very proud of. It's competing with your ENCA. It's competing with your Newsroom Africa.
Was here sitting on this chair, was breaking.
Well, I don't know if those things could be attributed to him or not.
It was like this. That's my legacy.
At the time.
It was like, this is my legacy. I'm the one who said we need to build this platform. So that's my legacy.
Yeah, and I think. Whether or not people like Hlaudi or whether they think is intelligent or not, those were some radical decisions that were needed in the art space. To say one, we're going to have a creation of a news platform that competes with this other two. That was a good move. SABC News today is a credible platform that people watch. If you also look at Scheme Sam as well, it emerges at that time. Uzalo, it emerges at that time as well. And these are just revelations of what can be achieved with decisive leadership.
Look at Clement Mouse.
Now
is a big brand coming from Scheme Sam.
Exactly.
A baby of SABC.
Exactly. And there's many of them that we can count. Yes. And one of the most progressive decisions, well, Saudi also speaks about it, that I'm very sad that have been reversed by the SABC, is that 90% quota. Yes. That was very progressive to say the only thing that is going to air on SABC, 90% local. Why are people fighting that resolution? Because what must SABC showcase? You go to Russia, my man, I was there. You are only going to be watching Russian content. You go to the US, you're going to be consuming, if not 95%, 100% US related content. You go to China, yes, maybe the things might be different, but largely you're consuming Chinese content. You come here to SABC3, you're watching Days of Our Lives. It's not even South African. You're watching things that are not South African. Those things, we must do away with them.
Watching Telemundo and what?
Yeah, we're watching those things of Telemundo. And what is quite funny is that I always make this scenario to my girlfriend when she tries to say this thing of 90% wouldn't.
No, not wife, man.
No, my girlfriend. She's not. I've not married as yet. I'll do those Jews later. But I always say to her, no. But you are criticizing this move of the SABC having 90% locally made content. Yet you spend the entire day watching Mzansi Magic, 161, and that one of Moja Love as well.
Yes.
Largely that's South African content.
Moja Love also is booming.
Yeah, and those are South African things. What is this one of drugs?
It's
Sizokuthola, Skipper my files, $99. All those things, that's South African content.
Yes.
You go
and also, people, they appreciate that content. They consume it.
They consume it largely. You go to 161, you'll realize it's the Queen, Boy Sibaya.
There's a new one that came. The name is, there's a channel that came. It sounds like Moja Love. I don't know, it's Emojo one or something like that. There's another one.
Yeah.
And this also is doing well.
You see, so Saudi's vision of 90% local, I don't know why people fought it. Because we are, one, empowering our artists, solving the question of unemployment and poverty, solving the question of artists always having to be despondent when they are not getting the gigs. And we are also just creating an environment where South Africans know and appreciate South African arts. You can't be paying royalties to Beyonce's the SABC and be proud.
Yes.
You can't be paying royalties to Bosno Allegra when we've got Makadzi, who is a shining black diamond, when we've got Ntatestana, when we've got all these local artists that must be supported here in South Africa. So I think it's just unfortunate AKA is now late, but he was very vocal about this 90% thing and he was in support of it. Artists made a huge blunder by not supporting that 90% thing that is there. Because look at them today.
DJ Spoo was there, was saying the same thing.
Look at majority of them where they are today.
Saying the same thing.
They are now parading their poverty, asking for donations as if they are not credible artists.
Yeah.
Though that thing is sad. That thing is very sad. So, we need radical leadership. We need young people who've got brilliant, sharp and new ideas who are going to get things done. Even in higher education, that's always been our call.
And in 2021, when I first spoke with Bonga Makanya on the interview on Instagram Live, I said to him, looking at your financial intelligence and shrewdness, I think you're supposed to be Minister of Finance or replace Khanyago Titomboweni.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, some of us are not interested in those things. I believe that with time, we will have more, more goals to kind of contribute a lot in the country. Maybe you might consider that. So to you personally, what is the position that you wish one day, if you are blessed with, you can be able to play a huge role?
Look, Simon, the truth of the matter is that I don't have an interest in political power. But if there is a vacuum and people are convinced that I can take them somewhere, when they make that call, I will accept it. But my personal ambition, honestly, is now focus on business, make my own couple of coins, and then go at the age of 40, go back to Limpopo in Namoraga, in my lovely farm there, head cattle, and just live nicely. I don't have any ambitions of being in politics or being popular, but I care about the development of this country, and I want us to have a proper direction as a country, resolve issues of poverty and unemployment. And I'm very vocal that young people must be at the center of leading this country. And just because I want young people to lead, it doesn't mean I see myself as a leader. No, there's many young people that can lead, many, and those that are in politics, that have a vision, that can take us somewhere as a country, must go and occupy those positions. As for me, I'm comfortable with staying in business. 40, going back to my village, focus on developing my village and other young people at a very much more smaller scale. I've got a relationship that's very good with the chief there. I do my own personal programs to assist young people. I've got 10 young people from that village every year that I just say I'll apply for them to go to universities. I will assist with first month accommodation, first month transport, because I want to see them doing well. Two of them have completed universities, and the fruits are good. And I'm now saying, okay, so if I do 10 every year, because I started this program when I was in first year, so if I do 10 every year, I'm going to, in the next 15 years, have 150 lives that are positively impacted. And I think if we can all just do that in our own small corners, in our own small villages, you'll see we'll start making an impact. You are here at Vets. You know how the system works. You know how to assist someone. Why can't you assist someone? So I want to, at 40, go back to my village, focus on developing it. We have a vision with the king of turning it into a smart city.
I'm looking forward to
so we want it to be an economic hub in Limpopo. Hopefully we can live to see those dreams. But yeah.
Last time you were here with Ponga, we spoke briefly on the project that SAYEC is busy with, which is building a school. How's the project coming?
No, it's building a tech hub at a school. So it's a center for math, science, and innovation at a school. The project is doing well. Those who want to support it, they can also continue to bring money. But the project is valued at about 7 million. We've raised about 3 right now. The deputy president is our patron. We'll be commencing with construction, I think, sometime in July, and then we'll be good to go. But with the little resources that we have, we're making it move.
SAYEC has raised $500 million, right, for mining?
Well, SAYEC, what it has done, it spoke to the IDC, which is a strategic entity that young people must start knowing from this interview.
IDC.
Yeah, the IDC. We spoke to them. We said, you guys are not supporting young people or emerging miners in the mining sector, but you've got so much money. And then we said to them, show us what you have done in the mining space for young people. And then they started, and we said, okay, we've got a solution. We want you guys to create an emerging fund for miners, manage it with the Council of Geosciences, and at least in the next 10 years, we want you to start pointing at young people that you've assisted. Say that, no, I've assisted Marcelo, he's where he is because of our efforts. If you look at the NEF, and that was something very good about the NEF, which I'm very proud of. If you go to them, the National Empowerment Fund, and say, point to us the businesses that you have assisted, they will tell you without even flinching an eye, that the burial service provider is as a result of the National Empowerment Fund. They gave it money, it employs people, it's a credible black-owned business that is doing excellent work. That's what we want to see from these DFIs. But more grassroots, they must empower young people. When we look back as SAYEC, we want to be able to say, no, through our advocacy at the very least, Marcelo Simon show is big and it's employing 200 people because we're able to speak to the government, and they assisted a young black person who was in the art space, who was doing good work, who started off without money, and we understood that money was what was needed to make it work. We want to look back and say, no, we found a young person who was just growing cabbage in Losikisik, and we said, no, you've got to skill this young person and you must give them money so that they can actually have a farm producing and taking part in agro processing. That's what we want to see. We want to see a young person who went to UP, studied mining engineering from Mpumalanga, going back to their own home province and saying, no, I've found a cool asset and I've developed it because I was assisted by the DFI, and today I'm a multi-millionaire. That's what we exist to see as a council, and that's our vision. And we hope we can achieve that.
Let's speak about the $500 million. you guys, SAYEC as an organization, managed to raise that $500 million, right?
Yes.
It's there on the SAYEC account.
No, it's not on the SAYEC account. It's not. It's a fund that is ran and facilitated by the IDC.
Yes. Also, like for an example, if there's a mining company young person that who needs funding, speaks to you, and then you take him to IDC.
That's absolutely correct. So we internally, we've got an SMME desk. Yeah. What we are basically doing through the SMME desk is we are saying to any young person, no, if you have what is called a mining permit or a prospecting right or a mining right, bring it to us. We've got a team of surveyors. We've got people who've got geological information on our end who are going to assist you with conducting a feasibility study at no cost at all. Once that is done, we are then able to say, IDC, we have found this asset, it's good, this is how much it needs in order for it to be developed, please put money on it. And then the IDC does that. It's as simple as that.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
And one thing I forgot to say in my introduction is the fact that you're president of SAYEC.
Yes.
I can say it's the only progressive organization that focus on young people selflessly and consistently.
I thought you were a member of the EFFSC, so you can't say we are the only progressive.
No, whenever like people are doing very well, selflessly so, consistently so, eagerly so, impactfully so, you must like pay credit where it's due.
No, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much.
I don't see any other young organization doing the work that SAYEC is doing in that rate, in that level, the impact that it's doing.
No, we really appreciate it.
So it's very progressive, I won't lie.
I won't lie. We appreciate it. And you know, we had a straight plan now with the council, and we were speaking about a lot of things, you know. And we realized that we are the only organization that convenes big business, ministers, investors in one room, and we say to young people, come and meet all these people without paying any amount of money.
Imagine Anglo-American, you bring ambassadors from Russia or whatever.
Yeah.
You bring ministers, if you said big people, and whereas you bring even organization that young entrepreneurs they don't know, they first find out about them in one of your events as SAYEC.
Yeah.
You see, to come and get this opportunity. So like I said and like you said, there's no other organization that is doing the kind of work that you're doing. Is an authentic one.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We hope we can continue to do more. We hope we can grow the organization and impact many more people.
Just briefly, I just want to ask 2 questions just before I let you go.
Yeah.
You are not in a rush?
No.
You guys attended BRICS. The first question about BRICS was why SAYEC was invited there.
Look, the truth of the matter is that you don't get to determine who invites you and who doesn't invite you.
Yeah.
You know, if someone sees you doing good, you've got an impact, and they say, no, let's invite these young people here. You are invited, and you just have to honor the invite, right? That's number one. But also, I need to say, one, the first invitation we've ever received was to the mining Indaba. We invited Minister Mantashe to an energy summit, and we said we want to discuss COP and the future of this country. And after him seeing our remarkable work, because we had convened big business, young people, young professionals, as well as government, he then said, no, you guys have potential and you are speaking about the right things. Young people can't be located in the mining sector. And I want you to work with me to assist to make sure that there is at least a clique of young people that we can start seeing in the department. And then he said, I am going to invite you to the mining Indaba. It's a big platform. come there, market yourselves, meet other people. But what is important is that I'm not inviting you. I'm inviting all the other young people that you speak on their behalf.
Yes.
So when you come here, you meet someone who is going to be helpful. You must make sure that you create something that is going to assist other young people. And indeed, when we were there, we met with the IDC, the then CEO, TP Nchonjo, who's left. We met him there. We met also with the CGS, the Council for Geosciences, and we started raising these issues, which is why on the second year of attending the mining in Indaba, at our event that we hosted with the minister there, we then made this announcement that we are creating a $500 million fund for emerging miners. So it's all about, if you are young, and it's known that when you are brought into a room, you are going to bring some changes for other young people, then you can be invited. I think that was the intention of inviting us to the mining in Indaba concept. And then we were doing quite a lot of work to the lead up of BRICS. We attended the BRICS Energy Summit. We were speaking about how we must utilize BRICS to assist young people in South Africa, those that are emerging, those that are growing. South Africa is a mineral endowed country with a lot of minerals. We're very rich in that, and we've got a lot of extractive industries. China has the industrial capacity. Brazil, India, as well as China, they've got the population, which is the market. So we thought this is a good platform, and let's start speaking about how we can use this BRICS structure to empower young people who are in business in South Africa. And then we started advocating for things like, it should not be difficult for me to trade with India if I'm South African. Let's say, for instance, I am producing paper in South Africa. It should not be difficult to sell that paper to India.
We are buying T-shirt made in India.
We are buying T-shirt made in India. We are consuming items that are from China. Equally, in South Africa, if we want to have industrial capacity, we must have a market. So that's what we were saying. Actually, you would have seen not so long ago, there was cows, sheep, as well as goats that were shipped to Kuwait.
Yeah, I saw the container saga thing.
Yes, that was shipped in Kuwait. And that was a move towards the right direction. We want to see those things where, in a young person who is mining cattle, who's farming cattle in Northwest, says, no, but I've got so much cattle and I can't really sell it to the South African market because the pricing doesn't make sense or it's too small. And then you say, no, but in India, they are willing to pay you 30,000 for one cow. Can you easily get it there without licenses, without red tapes, without all these things? You are able just to connect with someone who wants to buy cows from you. You ship the cows to them, and then you make your money. Easy as that. So BRICS is a gateway for that, and that's why we then said, no, we have to be in the room with all these strategic partners to see what can be done. And also, there is a BRICS Youth Council now. There are many other platforms that are there that young people must go to. The BRICS Business Council, many platforms that are there. Young people must be at the center of using them to work. Patrice sits, I think, as the president of the BRICS Business Council. He's advocating that it must not be difficult for us to travel to China. There must be what is called, I think, a business visa. Yes. Of some sort, that you already have it. It makes things easy for you to go there. You don't need to go through a rigorous process of how do you get to travel to these places. And the world is now moving towards that direction.
After South Africa hosting BRICS, so countries like Argentina, South Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, and others, I saw the article saying that they are now joining BRICS.
They are now members, yeah. They are now member states of
What
BRICS.
was your feeling as Kanakana, and what was the feeling of SAYEC, knowing that we were also part of this change?
I think I'm very excited at the fact that the global community is now embracing BRICS. It's now seeing BRICS as an alternative form of bloc in the globalization space, because for a very long time, and even till today, the EU with the United States of America are polarizing the entire world, doing as they wish. We consume their brands, they are powerhouses, they tell us when to jump and we jump. But I think an appreciation by the global south that let's create a multipolar world by creating BRICS, so that we do not run the risk of You know, every time we're wrong, the USA was scared of sanctions. We must have something that we can say, no, even when we are sanctioned, we are still able to operate as a country. So we created, there was BRIC, and then we joined it. And then now you see Saudi Arabia is coming on board. You see Egypt is on board. You see Argentina is on board. You see there's many countries that are now joining the bloc, and that is a vote of confidence that indeed it's about time. Things must change in the global space. And South Africa must be at the center of prioritizing that opportunity. One thing that makes me angry, Simon, is I think the leadership that we have does not understand what we stand to achieve as a country. I was looking at the projections that were done by Goldman Sachs as well as Baker McKenzie as well on what our GDP is going to look like in 2075 and where will we be positioned in the continent. I was not impressed that well, but I'm really agreeing with their forecast that if things continue as they are continuing now, we're going to have a serious problem as a country because Nigeria was ahead of us, Egypt was ahead of us. I think we're about number 6 in the continent. Morocco was ahead. There were many countries that were ahead. And I'm saying South Africa has always been a gateway for the global community into Africa. China knows that. The US knows that. The EU knows that if you want to speak about Africa, you must start by going through South Africa. But slowly over time, that is changing. And it must be concerning because we're not just any country in Africa, Marcel. We hosted the FIFA World Cup in 2010. There's no country in the continent that has done that. We beat Morocco to it. They are only going to see it, I think, now in 2034. But no one has seen that. So I think we've got to say to our leaders, you must remember this is South Africa. You must remember what we stand for as a country. We must continue on that trajectory. South Africa is not supposed to be sitting with the highest unemployment rate in the world amongst young people. It doesn't make sense. With the minerals that we've got, it does not make sense that our GDP is still sitting where it's sitting. It doesn't make sense that we are only collecting 1.4 trillion rands every financial year through SARS. It doesn't make sense. We need to be doing more than that. It doesn't make sense that since democracy, we've only built around about 2 universities. It doesn't make sense that you only have 26,000 schools in this country with only 12 million young people going to school every day. It doesn't make sense. I think much more still needs to be done. It can't be that in South Africa there is still someone who is undergoing basic education under a tree. We can't still be speaking about pit toilets. There are some things that as a country that has hosted the FIFA World Cup just generally, we're not supposed to be speaking.
Kids dying in pit toilets.
Kids dying in pit toilets. And one which is very central to me, I think we need a massive infrastructure drive. I said to Minister Mantashe, and I was joking to him, I said to him, but Minister, I'm not saying maybe you must say the government has failed, but tell me why Northwest, particularly Rustenburg, is not a metro. Tell me why Mafikeng is not a metro. Tell me why in Limpopo an area such as Beggarsford is not developed. Tell me. Because everything that can be attributed to the development of Johannesburg is there. Northwest is the largest producer of platinum in the world.
Even like Johannesburg, they said, if I'm not mistaken, more than 57 bridges that needs to be rebuilt are not in good shape.
Yeah, correct. But our drive for infrastructure is extremely low, and our appetite must increase. You know, there is no justification, Marcel, why Rustenburg is not a developed area. There is no reason why Polokwane, what used to be a very nice town when I was growing up, is today finished and debilitated. There is no reason for that. If you go across most towns that had at least a bit of light when we were growing up, today they're debilitating at a scary arena. And that's why we've got to make sure that we turn things back to the right trajectory. Johannesburg used to have a lot of potential, but okay, I see waterfall, I see some expansions here, but the reality of the matter is that CBD is debilitated.
Too much.
Crime is the order of the day. We are plunged with illegality from corner to corner.
The Premier is trying to fight crime, and sometimes like it makes me happy whenever like you see cops randomly come and search people. So what are you carrying here? Do you have drugs? Do you have? Because drugs here in Bram, drugs like they're everywhere, and seeing these cops working with the Premier's initiative, working every day and night to make sure that the streets are safe. Although they're not safe yet, but they're trying to be safe.
They're trying, yeah. We need to get rid of illegality in our cities. It cannot be that I can leave your studio here and get hijacked outside.
Yes.
You know, it cannot be. We need a. I was in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. My man, I can tell you. you can leave your phone.
Yeah,
you can leave your phone in the street and you'll come back and you'll find it. You can. There's no crime at all. Like, there's law and order. And I understand, and people must not interpret me to be either xenophobic or Afrophobic, but the reality of the matter is that our borders are too porous, you know. We've got to make sure that at least, yes, if you are a friend of mine from Zimbabwe, come in here, but at least have the accurate papers. I don't have a problem, because we run the risk of people that escaped or ran away from acts of crime in other foreign countries coming to South Africa without any form of knowing what are they going to live on. When they get here, they resort to criminal activities, and then this is why we are in the mess that we find ourselves in as a country. I'm not saying there are no South Africans that are committing crimes. They are there as well, right? But the reality of the matter is that it is extremely easier to trace a South African who has committed a crime than a person who is from an outside country who is here without the correct papers. Those are fundamental issues that we need to start dealing with. And when we want to speak about city rejuvenation, right? I look at Cape Town. It's a very good model, and I'm not giving flowers to the DA, but I'm saying in terms of service delivery, there is something that we can learn from there. You drive across the city of Cape Town. One, it is extremely safe during the evening. In the CBD, you can walk around freely and at peace. It's extremely safe. Potholes are not there at all. When you're driving in Cape Town, you would think you're somewhere else. And I mean, you go to Russia, you go to all these countries, you don't come across a pothole.
It's a myth to them.
You know, I am in Johannesburg, the biggest city in the continent, not just any other city, and there are potholes. So one call that I want to make, I think we've got to also reapply our mind in the model of governance. I mean, it cannot be that the biggest city in the continent was led at some point by someone who does not even have a matric certificate. It's a joke to us as citizens of the city. It's a joke, and we must discuss these things. It's a joke. No, in fact, I think he's still the mayor now, Mr. Gwamanda Kabelo. I think he's still the mayor now. It's a joke, really. I mean, we can't tolerate those kind of things where professionals, big institutions like Wits are under the leadership of someone who does not have a matric qualification.
But look at the former president, Jacob Zuma. He didn't have a matric.
I'm saying people must go to school.
I agree.
I'm saying,
but at times
those who do not have formal education cannot afford to lead us. And I'm saying, with President Zuma, maybe the circumstances that he was operating under are totally different. Many people who are 82 years old today did not have access to education at that time.
Didn't have. He completed his matric, but he failed. He was supposed to rewrite.
So he didn't complete his matric.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't complete his matric.
Didn't have a matric, but look at
what I am saying to you is that people must go to school, and there is no reason why certain people didn't go to school.
I agree on that.
The mayor of the city of Johannesburg has no justification as to why he didn't go to school. John Steenhuisen, the leader of the DA, has no justification as to why didn't he go to school. There is no justification at all. And so I'm saying people must go to school. At the very least, have a matric certificate. Because really, these things that I'm talking about are not even difficult to resolve. Issues of potholes, issues of a decaying city. We need to turn our fortunes around in this city. I was looking, I think this morning, Valtteri Bottas, a Formula One driver, is in Cape Town. And people are now starting a conversation of saying, no, we must have a Formula One Grand Prix race in Cape Town. You know, it's a good conversation to engage in. And I said to my girlfriend, well, one of the reasons why we've been struggling to get the Formula One here in Kyalami is because really there is no intention from the city itself to get the Formula One here. Because They have not assisted in upgrading the infrastructure. They have not made things much more better in terms of building roads and making sure that the area is clean and accessible. They have not done anything. But the mayor of the city of Cape Town, who is young, who is energetic, is now making that call to say, no, Valtteri, you're in our city, it's good. You've actually started giving us something to think about. We want to have the Formula Grand Prix in Cape Town. And we'll put all our resources with the private sector to make sure that it happens. Why don't we have that kind of leadership here in Johannesburg?
Western Cape is I would like to say it's a different province. Oranje is in Western Cape, right?
It's in the Northern Cape.
Northern Cape.
It's
okay.
in the Northern Cape.
Northern Cape. Like looking at most cities, let me just say that are led by whites mostly. Like they're looking out for them for themselves in a very good way. Look at Oranje now. Not everyone is. You can't go anyhow you want. They even have their own currency.
I think black people are very good at governing when they want to be good at governing. I'll say that, right? But they lack patriotism. I think we lack it.
And unity.
Patriotism. I mean, I don't think it's fair for anyone who has a position of power to drive through a pothole and not do anything about it.
And unity, like, why do I say unity? If you are an ANC member, I'm an EFF member, this is the problem that we have. We're saying you are busy supporting the ANC, but you see this problem. Why don't we come together and say we are all suffering from this problem? Why can't we go to Luthuli House together? Why can't we go to this particular minister's office together?
Correct. I agree. Fully. I agree. But also, I wanted to raise a very important thing. I think why I'm saying we suffer from an issue of patriotism, Simon. How do you have a person who is in government or in the private sector who says, no, I've been awarded or I awarded a tender to build a road or a hospital. Instead of building and delivering a quality service for the people who are going to use that infrastructure, you say, no, let's prioritize me eating and my family. Yeah. And that's a problem that we suffer from. Yeah. You know, we suffer from a problem of leaders who are not patriotic, who subject us to procurement processes that do not make sense. I mean, really, it should not take a day to fix a pothole. But if you go and say, no, there's a pothole here, you need to go and attend to it, you're going to be told, no, we must first put in a request with supply chain, money must be found, and then a tender is advertised. We look through those who be dead, and then we must choose the correct bidder, and they must now go. And that process alone takes you 3 months to just attend to a pothole. Mm-hmm. So we can't honestly run a big city in the continent like that. If there is a pothole today, a team is dispatched today, they go and they fix that pothole. Life is easy. Equally, if you go to a community in a village and they say, we don't have water, why must you be telling them about supply chain processes? You dispatch a team today. You even say, no, tomorrow or next week when I come back here, there must be water flowing. That's the kind of leadership that we want. If we are not aggressive at developing things in this country, we're not going to work. And I agree with Panyaza when he says, government is too slow for me. I don't like it. I agree. As a leader, you do what is done. You'd assume office as a premier. You announce 500,000 jobs, and you say by tomorrow you come in the stadium.
Yeah. Don't mind others.
Yeah, 700,000 jobs. You announce 700,000 jobs. You say tomorrow all those who need those jobs must come to a stadium. They do what they need to do. We give them appointment letters, and you become clear that no one is going to receive a rejection letter. Yeah. That's what we want every leader to do. Don't come and tell us about processes, do this and that. Government works like this. We don't care about that. We're saying we've got needs now. Attend to them now. That's what every leader must do. That's why we gave you power. Use it.
You are so angry about the pothole issue because a few days ago you became
I was a victim of it. I was a victim of it.
You are speaking from experience.
Yeah, I was a victim of it because that pothole has been there since Feb, man. And I inquired yesterday and the guy said, no, the team is busy with it. We're just finalizing some procurement things, but the team is going to be dispatched in the next month. I said, in the next month, I can go and close this pothole myself now with sand. Now, I can go and close it. You guys are telling me I must wait an additional 30 days. But I'm just saying, generally, we've got a tendency in government of a city that does not have technical expertise to attend to things with the agency and the rigor that they're supposed to be attended to by. And I'm saying that needs to change. It has to change.
Now, you see, in closure, bro, this thing of you and Bonga to say you guys are not interested in any government position. I think I'm praying for it to say, like, at some point when you, because you have your own personal dreams, when you have achieved that, you have your kids, you bought the farm back at home, you have developed Venda to be the city with the chief. Say, you know what is left for me to do, Kanakana? Let me go to presidency. Let me go to this particular ministerial position, because at times, like, we love to talk about things, then we are not kind of like doing more to kind of solve that. Or at times we love to, let me just end there. We love to talk about things and we are not doing more enough, like to be in a very powerful position to be able to address this thing. Imagine if you were the mayor. Now you hate the potholes. You know what they're doing to people.
Correct,
or maybe you are the minister of higher education and training. You have been there. You have suffered. I'm not saying Dr. Nzimande didn't suffer the injustice that we are suffering from. But at some point, like, I feel like they're forgetting where they're coming from.
No, correct.
You know?
Correct.
So to be there, I think, like, with this kind of beliefs and perspective and opinion, you can be able to come with these ideas that you have. You can be able to play a huge role.
Yeah.
To save the country, to serve the country.
Look, Simon, I'm of a fundamental belief that everyone who is a citizen of South Africa, regardless of age, must learn to be patriotic. You know, yes, we've got families, yes, we've got personal desires, but at some point, the country has to prevail, man. You can't tell me that you are going to fail to build a hospital for a community because those who are close to you must benefit. We need to do away with those things. It's quite sad that people go as far as eating money that was meant to deliver water to communities, money that was meant to build houses so that people can have dignity. Those things are very sad, you know. So I've got a fundamental problem with people who are not patriotic, and I think we need people to be patriotic. Even business South Africa must be patriotic. Imagine going to the extent of collapsing the rand because you've got a certain motive to pursue. People end up having to pay so much more in their car and house installments because you were trying to pursue a certain political narrative. So we need to build patriotism. Secondary to that, I have a big problem with delaying people. So if for instance we can all agree that Panyaza is a good leader, he's perfect, I don't understand why we must still then say no. We must wait for him to grow so that he takes over the country. You've seen what the man is doing. You've seen what he's capable of. Give him political power. Put him in a better position to say work effectively to take this country somewhere. That's the kind of intervention that we want. We don't want to wait, listen to people. Then you give them a political power when they are 70. Now they've got sons and they've got grandsons, and everyone has been saying, no, but you have not been doing anything, you're not many enough. Then they've also lost that edge to solve things in our society. So I'm of the fundamental belief that let's give young people power when they're young. Number one, let's prioritize those who have got the will and those who have got what is called meritocracy to turn things around. Time to appoint officials that are not capable of solving problems because they are my friend or they are my girlfriend must come to an abrupt end.
They have more money.
They have more money. We've got to appoint the fittest people to lead in government. And number three, South Africa is not just any country in Africa. We can't be comparing ourselves to Zimbabwe and Rwanda and all these other African countries. The United Arab Emirates must be a benchmark. Scandinavian countries must be the benchmark. Countries that are exceptionally doing well for themselves and for their people must be benchmarks. And in closing, we need to develop infrastructure. We need to take public institutions to an upper level. I mean, it does not make sense that we've only built 2 universities. We must build more. It doesn't make sense that the Northwest University does not have a mining engineering stream. That a university in Mpumalanga can't provide mining engineering to its students. So we need to start changing those things. That the University of Venda, what it was teaching people in the 80s is what it's still teaching today. So we've got to make sure that things start turning around. And we need to make sure that our towns that we know must grow, employ people, become centers of the economy, and they must even become metropolitans. I don't understand why Rustenburg is not a metro. I don't understand why there is no proper economic activity in Beggarsford. I don't understand why Northern Cape is remaining as it is. I don't understand why the highest youth unemployment can be located in Northwest, which is the largest producer of platinum in the world. So we've got to attend those things, and we need decisive leadership. That is not going to tell us about processes. That is not going to tell us that if I do this, I'm going to be called that I'm corrupt. If we agree that it is a problem and you want to attend to it, you must attend to it now. What the Auditor General says, it doesn't matter as long as you've delivered. Just because the Auditor General is going to say, no, this is unjustified and I'm going to give it a red flag, must not stop you from delivering services. We have a clique of public servants that are obsessed with getting clean audits from the Auditor General. That thing does not assist us with anything. You must deliver services. Don't tell us as a community that doesn't have water that no, I must go and follow proper procurement processes so that I can justify to the Auditor General. No. If you can give us water next week, do it today so that next week when you come here, we have water. Leave the Auditor General. Deliver services to the people. That's what I would say.
My brother, on the 29th of May, we're going to be voting.
Yes.
Going to be voting.
Young people must go out in their numbers, make their voice heard. They must go and vote. I am going to be voting. I am registered to vote. I voted the education campus here.
Going to be voting MK.
No.
Your brothers are there.
I am going to cast my vote for the ANC. I'm going to entrust Premier Banyaza Lesufi with the responsibility to continue to create jobs for many other people and to make sure that we have safer cities and a safer province and we take this country on a different level. And in the ANC, I'm going to continue to advocate for a much more clique of young leaders that are able to take this country elsewhere.
Well, what do you say to young people who are like, oh, but man, look at how things are not going well. Why should I be voting?
I will say to young people that the only way you can raise your grievance with a democratic government is through the ballot. So if I know you are unemployed, I know you don't have a job, go out there, make your voice be heard. And I don't want to say to young people they must trust the process. No, they must continue to fight.
Yes.
If you are not the process yourself, you can't trust it. You must be there. You must be active. And in closing, I want to say to young people, if we continue to exclude ourselves in discussions about where this country must be in the next 20 years, we're going to be victims. I believe that if you are not in rooms where change is being discussed, you'll end up being a victim of that change. So young people must go, make their voice heard, vote, decide their future. Not only stop there. Everywhere where the future of this country is being discussed, they must be there in overwhelming majority. When the president appoints a minister that we don't agree with, it must be us who march for his removal or for her removal. I mean, nothing stops us from doing that. We wait for the president to appoint his cabinet. The following day, we're protesting to say we don't agree with this appointment. Reapply your mind, or we must reconsider using other democratic processes to assist us. There's nothing that stops us from doing that. And as young people, let's continue to fight for higher education, for cleaner services, for a better country. There is no time to sit down and cry in our little corners. We must fight.
Now, thank you so much, bro, for coming. I wish you so much success, peace, and joy in life, personally, for you and your family and everyone around you. I don't want to say some other names, but you know what I mean. I wish you to have a happy family. One day when you look back, I was like, Kanakana, you did it. Started as a young man, and look what you have done.
Thank you.
And I wish you success. I wish SAYEC as an organization so much success to continue doing so much work that you guys at SAYEC are doing. I always see whenever like SAYEC is calling for volunteers, people who are throwing our applications who are not yet nominated, are people who are graduates, people who have sharp minds. Talking about the likes of Standi Wemsomi. and so many others. Those like brilliant minds. So you guys are very strategic.
No. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here also. I wish this platform growth. I want to see it become big, and look, with whatever help we can assist, we would really want to assist.
You guys,
the
when
government must assist.
you guys, when you were here, you said, we'll assist you. Bonga has to facilitate the process to assist you with getting cameras like this.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for that process.
Have you came back and made a follow up?
I did with Bonga.
Okay. I'll take it up with him because you didn't bring it to my attention, right?
Yeah. You said he needs to facilitate the process. I was like, okay, he's directing me right to him.
I'm saying to your viewers now, this year can't end without you being assisted with equipment. It mustn't end. That's I'm making that commitment. We'll do everything we can.
Thanks, bro. Thank you so much. That's Bonga. That's, oh my goodness.
No problem.
That's Kanakana Mudzanani, the president of SAYEC. It's one of the very progressive, actually the only progressive organization in the country. You can check it out on Instagram. You can go and check it, SAYEC. You can check it on Google and in other social media platforms that you have, and see the very important work that they're doing to our country to make sure that as young people we are getting the opportunities that we are supposed to be getting. Thank you so much, guys. This episode has been sponsored by Rebellious Clothing Brand. So go and check them out on social media, also on Google, on Instagram, social media, just everywhere where you can, and make sure that you place your order there. See you now in the next episode.
Thank you. No, brilliant one.